In the quiet town of Willow Creek, 9-year-old Charlotte Morris sets out for a peaceful afternoon at the park with her loyal companion, a therapy dog who's far more than he appears. What starts as a simple outing under the warm sun quickly turns into something far more dangerous when a group of troubled motorcycle vets, known as the Wayward Sons, surround the deaf girl looking for a little chaos. But they picked the wrong child, because standing between them and Charlotte is Guardian, a retired police K9 with instincts forged in the line of duty. The moment one of the bikers reaches for her, Guardian springs into action, and what follows isn't just a clash, it's a turning point. This single confrontation shatters assumptions, opens old wounds, and sparks something no one expected: redemption. This is the story of how a silent child helped broken men finally hear, and how one dog helped heal a community split by pain, judgment, and misunderstanding. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if this story touches you, don't forget to subscribe. Tomorrow we've got something even more powerful coming your way. Morning sunlight pours through soft lace curtains, casting patterns on the bedroom floor where Charlotte sleeps soundly, unaware of the world waking around her. Her golden hair spills across the pillow, peaceful, until a gentle breath tickles her hand. It's Guardian. With quiet steps and aging eyes full of wisdom, the German Shepherd lays his head beside hers. Her eyes open, and her face lights up with a smile that needs no sound. Charlotte has never heard a sound in her life. Deaf since birth, her world runs on sight and touch, and Guardian understands every sign she makes. When she signs, "Good morning," he responds with a gentle paw on her lap. It's their language, their bond. In the kitchen, Amanda Morris, Charlotte's mom, is already moving through the rhythm of another busy morning. At 35, she's graceful with her hands, not just from years of motherhood, but from mastering sign language out of love. She cracks eggs, peeks through the doorway, and smiles. "Good morning, sunshine," she signs as Charlotte appears. "Guardian woke me up," Charlotte signs back proudly. "That's his job," Amanda replies with a soft grin. "Finish breakfast, then school. Park later." Charlotte's eyes brighten at the word park. She signs fast. "The big one? With the ducks?" Amanda hesitates, then nods. "If homework's done." Beside the table, Guardian stays alert, not just as a pet, but as a protector. His old tactical vest, still hanging by the door, is a quiet reminder of a past life that never truly left him. Meanwhile, across town in a dingy garage-turned-clubhouse, 5 men sit in the flickering morning light. The air is thick with cigarette smoke and old tension. Military flags hang on the walls. Empty bottles clutter the table. Above the door, a crooked sign reads, "Wayward Sons." Craig Bolt Anderson, a 42-year-old ex-Army Ranger, scratches his graying head. "Charity rides next month," he mutters. "Time to plan." Marco Dagger Vasquez snorts. "No one wants us rolling through their perfect little town. They see leather and tattoos and cross the street." "Maybe because you nearly ran over Jenkins' mailbox." Brendan Chaos, Riley laughs, eyes bloodshot and unpredictable as ever. Zach Ghost Turner says nothing. He never does, just stares through the window like the world stopped talking to him years ago. And Eli Recruit Stewart, the youngest, watches quietly, unsure whether he's earned a seat at the table or just another rejection. "We're doing this ride to prove we're more than what they think," Bolt insists. "To show this town we're still human." Ghost's voice finally breaks the silence. "Some of us are still figuring out what that means." The tension rises. Dagger slams the table. "I didn't sign up to dance for people who treat us like freaks." Bolt leans forward. "Then why did you sign up?" It's Recruit who diffuses the moment. "I can map the route," he offers. "I was good with navigation." Bolt nods. The others glance around. New kids still trying, still hoping. Later that morning, a familiar pickup truck rolls into the Morris driveway. Thomas Reynolds, a 50-year-old former K9 handler, steps out. He walks tall, calm, confident, the kind of man who doesn't need to raise his voice to earn respect. He knocks lightly, then lets himself in. "Morning, Amanda," he calls out. "Where's my favorite girl and her shadow?" Charlotte darts in from the living room and wraps her arms around his waist, her whole face glowing. He kneels down, signs, "How's my brave girl today?" She signs back, "Good. We're going to the park." And so begins a day no one in Willow Creek will ever forget. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Would you have reacted like Guardian? And if you've ever seen kindness change someone's life, share that story below. We read everyone. More coming tomorrow. Stay tuned. Charlotte signs with excitement, her hands moving quickly. Thomas glances at Amanda, who's watching from the doorway. "The big park?" he asks. Amanda nods. "I promised her. It's been a good week. No issues at school, and Dr. Cooper says her language skills are improving faster than we expected." Thomas smiles as Guardian, the old German shepherd, trots over, tail wagging. He kneels to pat the dog gently. "Getting Guardian assigned to her was the best decision we ever made," he says. Amanda's expression shifts slightly, more serious now. "There's something I've been meaning to ask you," she begins, eyes drifting to Charlotte, who's now happily showing Guardian a new drawing. "There have been more reports about that biker group again, the Wayward Sons. Sheriff Wilson said they've been causing trouble downtown." Thomas's jaw tenses. "Jack's been keeping tabs on them. Most are just vets trying to adjust to civilian life. That doesn't make what they're doing okay, though." Amanda looks down. "I just worry. Taking Charlotte to public places. She can't hear if someone comes up behind her, and not everyone understands." "You're right to be cautious," Thomas says gently, resting a hand on her shoulder. "But that's why she has Guardian. And believe me, he hasn't forgotten a thing. I trained him myself to transition into civilian work. He still knows what to do." After Thomas leaves, Amanda and Charlotte settle into their daily rhythm, homework before lunch, a comforting routine that helps Charlotte navigate a world not always built for her needs. Meanwhile, over at the Wayward Sons clubhouse, tension brews. The stale air hums with boredom and leftover arguments. Chaos paces restlessly across the concrete floor. "I can't sit here all day," he blurts. "Who's up for a ride?" "Where to?" Recruit asks, eager for inclusion. "Anywhere but here," Dagger mutters, already throwing on his jacket. Bolt watches them closely. "Keep it clean, all right? No stunts, no drama." Chaos mock salutes. "Yes, sir. We'll be absolute angels." Ghost, quietly wiping grease off his hands, stands up. "I'll go." The others glance up, surprised. Ghost rarely volunteers for anything. "Well, look who decided to rejoin humanity," Dagger smirks. Ghost doesn't reply. He's already checking his bike. Back at home, Charlotte excitedly packs her sketchbook and pencils. Guardian watches every move, ears perked, sensing something important is happening. Amanda helps her fasten the dog's special harness, outfitted with a guiding handle and patches that read, "Therapy Dog and Deaf Child." "Stay where I can see you," Amanda signs, "and if you need me, have Guardian bring you." Charlotte nods with a grin. The park is her sanctuary, a place where she feels the thud of running feet through the ground, where ducks glide over the pond's surface, and where her imagination runs free. They pull into Willow Creek Memorial Park, a beautiful, sprawling green space filled with old oak trees and winding paths. Amanda's grip tightens slightly on the steering wheel when she sees a group of motorcycles parked at the far end of the lot. She recognizes the logo, Wayward Sons, but she breathes through it. She won't let it ruin Charlotte's afternoon. Charlotte practically bounces out of the car, backpack slung over one shoulder, Guardian by her side. The dog moves with purpose, always staying between Charlotte and any approaching jogger or cyclist. They find a calm spot near the pond, and Amanda lays out a blanket. Charlotte immediately begins sketching the ducks with focused precision. Guardian lies beside her, relaxed but alert. At the other end of the park, 5 bikes growl into motion and roll down the path, loud and showy. People glance over, some stare, some pull their kids closer. Chaos revs his engine again, laughing. "Did you see their faces? You'd think we were about to plow through their play date." "Maybe ease up," Recruit says awkwardly. "There are kids around." "That's half the fun," Dagger smirks. "Watch the soccer moms lose it." Ghost says nothing, scanning the park. His eyes settle on a small girl near the pond. A big German shepherd sits by her side, calm but alert. Something about the dog's posture makes Ghost tilt his head. "Let's take 5, Bolt says, parking his bike near a bench. The others follow. K9’s, still antsy, nudges Dagger and nods toward the pond. Check it out. Kid doesn't even flinch when people walk by. Totally zoned out. Probably one of those uptight families, Dagger shrugs, teaching their kids to pretend the rest of us don't exist. They laugh, all except Ghost and Recruit, who both quietly look away. Near the pond, Charlotte is lost in her art, drawing the curve of a duck's neck. Guardian stays close, muscles relaxed but mind sharp. Amanda's phone buzzes. Dr. Cooper's office. She hesitates, then gently taps Charlotte's shoulder to let her know she's stepping away for a quick call. Charlotte nods and keeps drawing. Guardian's eyes follow Amanda, but he doesn't move. Back on the far side of the park, the bikers stretch and start to wander, growing bored. K9’s spots Charlotte again. "Look at her," he says, nudging Dagger. "Totally in her own world." "Probably too good for us," Dagger sneers. "You know the type." But Ghost keeps watching, not with judgment, with curiosity, and maybe a flicker of something else, something he hasn't felt in a long, long time. What happens next will change everything, not just for Charlotte, but for the very men who thought they were beyond saving. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever witnessed someone's heart change in an instant? Don't forget to subscribe, because the rest of this story will surprise you. "Rough crowd like us? Let's go say hello." K9’s grins, but there's nothing friendly behind it, just a reckless hunger to provoke. "Maybe teach her some manners," he adds, already stepping off the path towards Charlotte. "Wait!" Bolt starts to protest, but K9’s doesn't listen. Dagger is right behind him. Ghost and Recruit exchange a glance, then follow hesitantly. Bolt curses under his breath and hurries to catch up. Amanda, still on the phone with her back turned, doesn't see the 5 men approaching until Guardian suddenly shifts, going from calm to alert in a heartbeat. His body stiffens. His ears snap forward. His gaze locks onto the approaching threat. Charlotte, completely unaware, continues her drawing as the shadows of 5 men fall over her sketch pad. She doesn't hear the footsteps, doesn't hear the voices. Not until Guardian rises and places himself firmly between her and the strangers does she look up. The smile instantly vanishes from her face. 5 men in leather vests loom over her, their expressions unreadable, their size overwhelming. She can't hear their words. She tries to read their lips, but there are too many faces, too much confusion, and fear begins to rise in her chest. Guardian's stance changes again, ever so slightly. The subtle cues of a trained dog preparing for action. His tail stiffens, his body tenses, his eyes lock in. A low vibration begins in his throat, not quite a growl yet, but close. "Hey kid," K9’s says with a mock-friendly tone, crouching slightly. "What you drawing there?" Charlotte doesn't respond. She clutches her pencil tightly and keeps her eyes on the page. "Rude much?" Dagger scoffs, stepping closer. "Did your parents teach you to ignore people?" Bolt lingers behind them, his instincts firing alarms. "Guys, let's just move on." But Guardian senses it all, and now his growl is low and unmistakable. "What's with the dog?" Recruit mutters nervously. Ghost squints at the harness. It says something, therapy dog, and deaf child. The realization hits them. "She can't hear you," Ghost says flatly. "She's deaf." K9’s grin sharpens. "Oh yeah? Let's see if she hears this." He claps his hands loudly right next to Charlotte's ear. Charlotte doesn't flinch at the sound, but she jerks back in panic at the sudden movement. Her sketchbook falls. Her hands begin moving rapidly, signing. "What's she doing with her hands?" Dagger laughs. "Some kind of weird dance?" "It's sign language, you idiot," Ghost snaps, the disgust now clear in his voice. Guardian steps forward, the growl rising. His body lowers slightly, muscles coiled, eyes locked on K9’s. The tension in the air is electric, and then K9’s makes a mistake. He reaches out to grab Charlotte's arm. "I said I'm talking to—" It happens in a flash. Guardian lunges, not to maim, But with surgical precision, his jaws clamp down on K9’s wrist just enough to stop him cold. No blood, no tear, but enough pressure to make a point learned over years of police K9 training. K9 howls. "What the hell? Get him off!" The other bikers stumble back. Guardian doesn't let go. He growls louder now, chest vibrating with fury. Charlotte backs away, signing frantically, tears streaming down her cheeks. Across the park, Amanda's head snaps up. She sees the crowd, the dog in attack mode, her daughter crying. She drops the phone and runs. "Call off your dog," K9 yells, trying to pull away. "Don't move," Bolt commands sharply. "That's a police-trained dog. Struggle, and he'll bite harder." Dagger's hand moves toward his boot, where he keeps a knife. Ghost grabs his wrist. "Are you insane? You pull a blade on a service dog and you'll be doing federal time." Amanda reaches them, eyes blazing. "What are you doing to my daughter?" She places herself between Charlotte and the men, wrapping her arm protectively around her daughter. Charlotte clings to her. Bolt raises his hands. "Ma'am, it's a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Amanda's voice is shaking with fury. "You think it's okay to harass a deaf 9-year-old? To taunt her and ignore the fact that she has a clearly marked service dog?" Recruit looks like he's about to be sick. "We didn't know. We thought she was just ignoring us." "And that gives you the right to surround her? Intimidate her?" Amanda snaps. She signs each word for Charlotte as she speaks, making sure her daughter understands everything. Charlotte watches, still crying, but her eyes stay locked on her mother's hands. K9 growls, still trying to shake Guardian off. "Get this thing off me already!" "Guardian, release!" Amanda commands. Guardian instantly obeys. He backs off, but stays in front of Charlotte, growling low. K9 cradles his wrist. Teeth marks visible, skin unbroken. "That dog attacked me. I'm suing." Amanda doesn't flinch. "After you tried to grab a deaf child? After you ignored the patches on her dog?" She pulls out her phone. 911 is already on the way. You can explain it to the sheriff. Around them, park-goers have gathered. Phones are out. The whole thing is being filmed. Bolt sees this and swears under his breath. "We're leaving," he mutters to his crew. "Like hell," Dagger snarls. "That mutt attacked K9. We're not just walking away." "That mutt was showing restraint," a new voice says firmly. They turn. Thomas Reynolds is walking toward them from the parking lot, eyes hard. "If Guardian wanted to do real damage, your buddy would be missing half his arm." Dagger straightens. "And who the hell are you supposed to be?" Thomas doesn't blink. "The man who trained that dog." He kneels beside Guardian, checking him over with experienced hands. "Good boy," he says quietly. Guardian's stance softens, but he doesn't look away from K9. Guardian relaxes just enough to show the threat has passed, but his eyes stay sharp, ready. Moments later, a patrol car cuts across the grass and screeches to a halt. Sheriff Jack Wilson steps out, boots crunching against the earth. At 48, he wears the weight of years on the job, eyes tired, expression firm, but a presence that says I've seen worse and I'm still here. He takes in the scene with practiced calm. "Amanda, Charlotte, are you both all right?" he asks. Voice gruff, but softer than his face lets on. He signs as he speaks, his movements slower than Amanda's, but clear. Charlotte gives a faint nod, still clutching her mother. Thomas nods respectfully in return. Before anyone can explain, K9 jumps in, cradling his wrist. "That dog attacked me! Nearly tore my hand off!" Wilson looks to Guardian, now sitting calmly beside Charlotte. "That attacked dog served this department for 7 years," Wilson replies. "Decorated, loyal, and better trained than most officers." He turns to the group of bikers. "I've been waiting for you boys to cross a line. Looks like today's the day." Bolt steps forward, his posture stiffening into military formality. "We didn't know the girl was deaf," he says. "It got out of hand." "Misunderstanding." 5 grown men surrounding a child in a park?" Wilson asks, arching an eyebrow. "That's not a misunderstanding. That's intimidation, Anderson." Wilson starts collecting statements from Amanda, bystanders, and others who saw it all unfold. The stories match. The bikers approached Charlotte without provocation. The dog only acted when one of them tried to grab her. "I'm taking you all in," Wilson says at last. Intimidation of a minor, harassment of a disabled person, interfering with a service animal. And that's just the beginning. "This is bulls," Dagger starts, but it's cut short by the click of handcuffs around his wrists. "We didn't hurt anyone," he protests. "Not for lack of trying," Thomas mutters as Wilson radios for backup and begins loading them into patrol cars. Amanda kneels before her daughter, sighing softly. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" "Did they hurt you?" Charlotte shakes her head, then signs back with trembling fingers. "Guardian protected me. They tried to grab me, but he stopped them." Amanda signs back through her tears. "Yes, baby. He will always protect you, and so will I." Charlotte wraps her arms around Guardian's neck. He licks her cheek gently, tail wagging just once. That night, over at the Willow Creek Sheriff's Department, the 5 wayward sons are split into holding cells. Bolt stares at the ceiling in silence. Chaos clutches his bandaged wrist, mumbling about lawsuits. Dagger paces like a caged animal. Ghost sits perfectly still on his cot, eyes closed. Recruit keeps wiping his sweaty palms on his jeans, visibly shaken. Sheriff Wilson sits at his desk, finishing their paperwork. Thomas leans against the doorframe. "You pressing full charges?" Thomas asks. Wilson sighs. "They broke at least 4 laws, scared a little girl out of her mind. If that dog wasn't so well trained, it could have ended a lot worse." He sets down his pen. "But I've seen this before. Ex-military, lost in civilian life. Not the first time." Thomas cuts in sharply. "Don't excuse them. I served too. So did Frank Morris. And he didn't come back and start terrorizing children." "Frank Morris?" Wilson looks up. "Charlotte's grandfather," Thomas replies. "Marine Corps. 2 tours in Vietnam. Still has shrapnel in his leg from K9’s. Wilson sits back, taking it in. "He know what happened?" "Amanda called. He's driving in from the VA hospital. Should be here by morning." Thomas crosses his arms. "And Frank's not the kind of man you want to face after you've messed with his granddaughter." Across town, Amanda sits at Charlotte's bedside. The little girl has finally fallen asleep, worn out from the day's trauma. Guardian rests at her feet. Not quite asleep, always alert. Amanda strokes Charlotte's hair, her thoughts heavy, torn between gratitude and fear. Gratitude that Guardian was there. Fear of what might have happened if he wasn't. Her phone buzzes with another message. More friends, more neighbors. Word of the incident has already spread through Willow Creek like wildfire. Back at the station, Wilson rises and heads toward the holding cells. The bikers look up as he arrives. "Here's how it's going to go," Wilson says coldly. "You're spending the night here. Tomorrow you'll be arraigned on multiple charges. Based on your records," he locks eyes with Chaos and Dagger, "some of you may be facing real time." Chaos snaps. "The dog attacked me." Wilson doesn't even blink. "After you tried to grab a deaf child," he says flatly. "A clearly marked service animal responded with exactly the force it was trained for. Not a single witness supports your version." Bolt speaks up, voice low. "What about the rest of us? Some of us tried to stop it." Wilson pauses, then says evenly, "Not hard enough, Anderson, not nearly hard enough." He turns and walks away. The cell block falls silent. Dagger hisses toward Chaos. "Nice going. This is exactly what we didn't need." "How was I supposed to know she was deaf?" Chaos snaps. "It was on the dog's vest," Ghost says quietly. "In plain sight." "Shut up, Ghost," Chaos growls. "Nobody asked you." Recruit mutters, almost to himself. "My sister's kid is her age. What the hell were we thinking?" "We weren't," Bolt replies grimly. "That's the problem." Morning breaks over Willow Creek, and with it comes Frank Morris. At 75, he moves slowly, cane tapping the floor with every step, but his back is still straight, military straight, his face hard, his eyes focused, and he's here for one reason only, to find out who thought they could scare his granddaughter and walk away from it. Frank Morris had the face of a man who'd seen combat and never fully left it behind. He walked into the Willow Creek Sheriff's office not with noise or threats, but with the quiet, unshakable authority of someone who once gave orders that decided life or death. "Jack," he said, gravel in his voice from decades of war and cigarettes he quit 5 years too late. Sheriff Wilson stood to greet him. "I'm sorry, Frank, about what happened to Charlotte." They shook hands, firm, solid. "Thomas told me. Said the dog did his job," Frank replied. "He did," Wilson nodded. "We're processing the charges now. The DA's reviewing it." But Frank didn't sit. "I want to see them." Wilson hesitated. "Frank, I'm not sure that's—" "I said I want to see the men who thought it was okay to terrorize my granddaughter." That ended the conversation. Wilson nodded once. "Follow me." The holding area fell completely silent as Frank's cane tapped a slow, deliberate rhythm on the concrete. Even Dagger, ever defiant, stood straighter. Frank stopped in front of the cells, scanning each man, measuring them without saying a word. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, but the weight behind it was undeniable. "My granddaughter has been deaf since the day she was born," he said. "Her mother has worked 2 jobs to make sure she never feels less than any other kid. That dog, the one you tried to mess with, he's the reason Charlotte can go to a park without fear. He's the reason she can live in a world she can't fully hear and still feel safe." None of the men spoke. Even K9’s didn't crack a joke. "I saw your patches," Frank continued. "Vietnam was my war. What was yours?" After a pause, Bolt answered, "Afghanistan, for most of us. Iraq, for Ghost." Frank nodded slowly. "Then you should understand something about honor, about protecting the innocent." He tapped his cane, hard, against the floor. "Yesterday you failed that test." He turned to leave, then paused. "I served with men who came home broken. Some of them found a way to put themselves back together. Some didn't. But none of them would look at what you did yesterday and call it the act of a soldier." He walked out. The silence he left behind was louder than any outburst. It was Recruit who finally spoke. "He's right," he said, voice low. "What would our units think? 5 grown men surrounding a little deaf girl?" Bolt clenched his jaw. "We lost our way." "Speak for yourself," Dagger muttered, but there was no bite in it anymore. Ghost finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "My sister's got a service dog, PTSD. She was in Kandahar when her unit got hit. If someone did to her what we did to that girl—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Back at the Morris home, Amanda had taken the day off to be near Charlotte. The little girl stayed close to Guardian, flinching at shadows that never bothered her before. The incident had left its mark. That morning, Thomas Reynolds arrived with Dr. Michelle Cooper. At 40, Michelle had worked with Charlotte since she was a toddler. She entered the house with calm professionalism, but her eyes showed real concern. "How is she doing?" she asked, speaking and signing simultaneously so Charlotte could follow. "She barely slept," Amanda replied, also signing. "She keeps checking to make sure Guardian is nearby." Michelle knelt to Charlotte's level. "I heard you had a scary day yesterday," she signed gently. "Want to tell me what happened?" Charlotte's hands moved slowly at first, hesitant, then faster as the memories poured out. She signed about the fear, the stranger's eyes, how she couldn't understand what they wanted, how Guardian stood between her and danger. "Were you brave?" Michelle asked. Charlotte paused. "Guardian was brave," she signed. "I was scared," Michelle smiled. "Being scared doesn't mean you weren't brave. Brave people feel fear and keep going, just like you did." Thomas, watching nearby, nodded quietly, then turned to Amanda. "Frank saw them this morning." Amanda raised an eyebrow. "And?" "Exactly how you'd expect," Thomas said. "Frank can make grown men feel 2 inches tall when he wants to." "Good," Amanda replied. "I hope they feel smaller when they face a judge." By afternoon, the town of Willow Creek had already heard the full story. News spread fast. Local media picked it up. Citizens flooded the sheriff's office with calls demanding the men face charges. Others left flowers and notes on the Morris family's porch. The community had rallied behind them, one of their own. At the courthouse, Judge Alina Harmon reviewed the files with a clenched jaw. At 63, she'd seen every kind of case in a small town, but this one made her blood boil. When the 5 bikers were led into the courtroom, her glare over the rim of her glasses cut like a scalpel. "Gentlemen," she said, the word laced with ice, "you stand accused of multiple charges: harassment of a disabled minor, interference with a service animal, disturbing the peace. How do you plead?" Bolt stepped forward, the de facto spokesman. "Your Honor, we plead guilty to disturbing the peace. We'd like to discuss the other charges with counsel." Judge Harmon raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Anderson, I strongly suggest you speak with a lawyer. These are serious charges." "We understand, Your Honor," Bolt replied, trying to keep composure. The others shifted uneasily, all except Ghost, who stared ahead, unreadable. "Very well," she said. "Bail is set at $10,000 each. Given the circumstances, and Mr. Riley and Mr. Vasquez's prior records, I'm also issuing a restraining order." She leaned forward. "You are to remain at least 500 feet from Charlotte Morris, her home, and her school at all times." The gavel dropped with finality. The next court hearing is scheduled for 1 week from today. As officers begin escorting the bikers out of the courtroom, K9’s mutters bitterly under his breath. 10 grand. Where the hell are we supposed to get that kind of money? "You should have thought about that before grabbing a deaf kid," Recruit says quietly. "Shut up, Stewart," Dagger snaps. "Like you tried to stop it." "No," Bolt cuts in firmly, his voice leaving no room for argument. "He's right. We all could have stopped it. We didn't. And now we face the consequences." Outside the courthouse, a small crowd has gathered. Some hold signs reading "Justice for Charlotte." Others don't speak, their silence sharper than any words, their eyes full of quiet outrage. A few reporters push microphones into the group's path as they're led toward police transport vehicles. "Do you regret attacking a deaf child? What would you say to the Morris family? Is this the kind of behavior the public should expect from veterans?" That last question cuts deep. Bolt halts for a moment, visibly shaken. A court officer quickly nudges him forward, but the damage is done. The media's headline is already forming. "Troubled vets harass disabled girl." Another stain. Another headline. Another reason not to trust men already struggling to find their place after war. Later that afternoon, Frank Morris sits at Amanda's kitchen table, staring out the window. Charlotte is in the backyard with Guardian. She plays quietly, never straying far from the house. Every so often, she glances toward the gate, as if she's waiting for something, or someone. "She's been like that ever since," Amanda says softly, setting a cup of coffee in front of her father. On edge, always checking corners. Frank grips the mug with both hands. His knuckles, scarred and aged, press against the ceramic. "It'll take time," he says quietly. "Healing always does." "Dr. Cooper recommended a trauma therapist," Amanda adds. "One who specializes in deaf children. We start next week." She sighs. "I never thought I'd be booking therapy for my daughter at 9 years old." Frank nods slowly. "Kids are stronger than we think. Tougher than we give them credit for." Amanda watches him for a moment. "You never talk about it. Not really. Not what it was like for you, coming home." Frank doesn't answer right away. His jaw tenses. "There's nothing worth saying." "Dad." Amanda's voice softens. "I remember. You checked the doors 3 times every night, sat with your back to the wall at restaurants. I saw it." The silence stretches. And finally, Frank speaks. Voice rough, cracked with old pain. "It took 5 years before I could hear a car backfire without dropping to the floor." He looks back out the window at Charlotte. "But I had you. Your mom. You gave me a reason to fight through it." Amanda reaches out and places her hand over his. "Those men, the ones who scared her, they're veterans too." Frank nods. "Different war. Same demons. But that doesn't excuse it." "No," Frank agrees. "It doesn't. But understanding why someone breaks doesn't mean excusing what they do after the break." Their conversation is interrupted by the creak of the back door. Thomas steps inside, greeting Charlotte and Guardian on his way through. He pats the dog affectionately and enters the kitchen. "How'd the arraignment go?" Amanda asks. Thomas pours himself a coffee. "Pretty much what we expected. Bail set. Restraining orders issued." He glances through the window at Charlotte before choosing his next words carefully. Bolt was the only one who seemed to take it seriously. The others, not so much. "Are they facing real time?" Frank asks. Thomas nods. "Multiple charges. The DA's pushing hard, especially with the media attention. K9’s and Dagger have prior offenses. If this sticks, they could be looking at jail." "What about the others?" Frank presses. "Bolt's record is clean. Commendations from his time in uniform. Ghost 2, though his juvenile file is sealed. Recruit's the newest. Honorably discharged 6 months ago." Frank absorbs it all quietly, lost in thought. Across town, inside the county jail, the men pass the time in different ways. K9’s paces, muttering and flexing his wrist where Guardian's teeth left dark bruises. Dagger lies on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, his scowl unchanged since the moment he was booked. In a separate area, Bolt sits across from a public defender, a no-nonsense woman flipping through a folder thick with reports and statements. "The DA is open to a plea deal," she says, her tone neutral. "Especially in your case, Mr. Anderson. No prior charges, strong service record, community standing." Bolt leans forward, listening closely. He knows what's coming next, and he's ready to own it. The attorney laid it out. Bolt might qualify for probation and anger management classes, but the others? Riley and Vasquez had tougher histories. Substance abuse, prior assault. That complicates everything. As for Recruit and Ghost, they might be eligible for diversion programs, given their clean records. The lawyer closed her folder. "You're not obligated to worry about their outcomes," she said. But Bolt shook his head. "We came in together. We faced this together." Meanwhile, Ghost sat alone in an interview room. Sheriff Wilson entered with 2 coffees, setting one down. 3 tours in Iraq, a Bronze Star, and now you're in a holding cell because your crew scared a deaf girl," Wilson said. "I didn't touch her," Ghost replied. "No, but you stood there while K9’s did." Wilson studied him. "That dog acted faster than you did. You think that's okay?" Ghost finally met his eyes. "We're not a gang," he said. "We're just guys who couldn't figure out how to be civilians again. VA offers help." Ghost scoffed. "Long waits, paperwork, therapists who've never seen a battlefield telling you how to feel." Wilson nodded slowly. "Even so, brotherhood doesn't mean terrorizing townspeople." "That was never the plan," Ghost said. "It was supposed to be support. But somewhere along the way we lost that." At home, Charlotte sat with Dr. Cooper, signing out her thoughts. "Were you scared when they surrounded you?" Michelle asked. Charlotte signed, scared, confused. "I didn't know what they wanted." "But Guardian wasn't scared," she added with a small smile. "No," Michelle replied, "because Guardian knows how to protect you, even when he's scared." Frank watched from the doorway. When the session ended, he asked Michelle how Charlotte was doing. "She's hesitant to return to the park, but she's not seeing all strangers as threats. That's progress," Michelle said. "Guardian's presence helps a lot, and so would resolution if she saw the men make amends." Later, Frank stood with Thomas watching Charlotte play fetch with Guardian. "That dog saved her," Frank said. Thomas nodded. "Not just physically. He used exactly the right amount of force. That's training, but also love." Frank looked on, thoughtful. "The therapist thinks seeing change might help her heal. And I've been thinking, I run that veterans group. Maybe there's a way to help both sides." The next day, Recruit met with his lawyer. At 26, he was the youngest, still more boy than man. "You're being offered a deal, probation, counseling, community service," the lawyer said. "What about the others?" "They're not your concern." "But they're the only ones who get it," Recruit said. "What it's like to come back." "Then find others who won't land you in a jail cell," she snapped. Later, the bikers met outside the courthouse. The tension was thick. "We need a plan," Bolt began. "Mine says I should sue the Morris family," Chaos interrupted, flexing his wrist. "Are you insane?" Ghost snapped. "You tried to grab a deaf kid." "The dog did its job," Dagger growled. "Whose side are you on?" "The side of not making things worse," Ghost shot back. "We face this like men," Bolt said. "That means owning it." "Screw responsibility," Dagger barked, stalking off with Chaos. Recruit hesitated. "Go home, Stuart," Bolt told him. "Think about who you want to be in a year." Only Bolt and Ghost remained. "He's not done," Ghost said, meaning Chaos. "I know," Bolt replied. "That's why we make sure Charlotte stays safe."